Hey guys, Chris King, Allison Myers, we're here, and I'm a licensed therapist. And today I'm stuck in my head, and we're gonna play music, and then we're gonna do this thing. So play the music. Let's go. All right, segment one, because now we're like super organized.
Right.
Allison, what's stuck in your head? We talked a week ago, and this is super fun that we're doing it every week too, because like that means we just like visit every week, which is
Yeah,
good.
it is. Well, and I'm also learning I'm not as I don't think I'm as fun as you are. My brain is like, I don't know what I'm thinking about. I'm kind of just thinking about what we were thinking about last week. I've and it's mine's not like funny or anything, but today's Ash Wednesday. And so I've been thinking a little bit about this idea of lament and what does it mean to lament well, and what's the purpose and what is the point. So sorry, my head is
I think that's awesome.
yeah,
Also, it prevents our listeners from like always hitting you up the next time they see you out at the mall, which is where you usually hang out,
always at the mall.
and say, "Hey, Allison, go be funny,
It'll be funny, Allison. And I'm
be
like, well, I can't
funny." And you're
'cause I
like,
gave it up for
I'm lamenting.
yeah, I
I'm
gave
not
it
like,
up being funny for Lent.
yeah, I'm not surface. This is not a
No,
surface conversation.
deep.
So,
Yeah, so that's what's been stuck in my head and just thinking about it and in preparation for it. And sometimes I'm a uh give something up for Lent person or an add a rhythm or
right?
a routine to my life person. And I know today is the day it's supposed to start, and I have yet to land on what it's going to be for this season. So I need to kind
So something I think it was I don't know if it was Henry Nouwen that said it, and of course I might like even forget what was said.
of
Like, but just like the idea, oh well, yeah, the scripture reference just says better to be in the house of mourning than in the house of mirth. And it's like through being in the house of mourning, it shows us who we are,
yeah,
and it's orienting. It shows us where we are and what we have
yeah,
lost and what
yep,
we want.
yep. And kind of the overarching theme that we're hoping to invite people to see is that most of us stay away from anything that feels like lament or sadness or grief or whatever. We put a lot of money, time, effort, energy into not feeling that for a variety of reasons. One of which I think sometimes, especially like maybe churchy people, we haven't always done a great job of connecting that like lament doesn't mean a lack of faith. And
Sure.
we don't always do like a great job about that. And so one of the things that is actually going to be like we're inviting people to see is that when you lean into lament, you would never like cry out to someone that you didn't think could hear you, or cry
Yeah,
out to someone that you didn't think could help you, or you didn't think, at least on some level, cared. And so that actually the crying out and the naming of the pain is actually an act of great faith and
yeah,
trust,
right. Yeah,
and a very important step. I mean, you're kind of you know about the grief.
I do. I mean, it's a relational step.
It
It
is.
it is. I mean, and relationship with God or with each other or self, like because it's honest. All grief is the acknowledgement of loss. Like
Yeah.
it's the truth. I lost a belief, a relationship, a human being, a pet, a uh, an orientation that I was leaning into, a job.
Job, yeah.
Right, right. And so that like, I have to tell the truth about that loss
Mm.
and feel it in order for me to do the next thing in my life.
I'm confident the things in your head are funner. Is funner a word? More fun.
I was stuck on Valentine's Day, and
Big Valentine's guy?
that was last weekend.
I know
Yeah,
you're a big Valentine's guy. What?
no,
Oh, okay.
I'm not, because our anniversary is February 27th. And so we both tend to kind of like
Yeah.
not lean in very hard to Valentine's Day. But this year, on the month of our 33rd wedding anniversary coming up in a couple of weeks,
Yep.
my wife, Kristen, who I describe to people that haven't met her as a force of nature, I think that's just an awesome way to say who she is.
Yep.
She's like, we're going to go do something for Valentine's Day. And I'm like,
Yeah,
awesome,
we
let's
are.
go.
Yeah.
And she's like, I booked a couples massage. I'm like, excellent. We haven't done that in a long time. And I'm like, where are we going to do this? And she's like, well, I'm not exactly sure where. Like, it's a thing I kind of did on the internet. And I'm like, oh, oh, okay.
When
And so we kind of looked it up, and it was like Asian massage place,
Yep.
and we had not done that before. And
Like,
so
where
like
do you think?
we pulled up, and we're like, big sign massage, just
Yep.
in big red, like big sign.
Yep.
And it was in a strip mall, and we're like, this is an
Everyone else.
adventure. And so we went, and didn't really see a license in sight or any kind of like documentation and things. That we had these tables beside each other in
Yep.
this very small room. And she said, I knew this was going to be different whenever the guy got up on top of the table and like was on top of me, rubbing me. And I'm like, and then I looked over, and like the girl that was massaging you, she was like on top of your back, rubbing your back. And I'm like, yeah, I was just breathing through it. And anyway, so she had booked 90 minutes.
Holy moly,
Okay.
that's a long
I know.
time.
I know. And then 30 minutes of foot and ankle after that. We had 2 hours.
2 hours of
Okay.
rubbing on
Yeah.
you.
And so here's my verdict, right? Like we went and did the
Yep.
adventure, and it
Yep.
was bar none the best massage I'd ever had, without question, and about half the price of what we would pay for at some big spa. And so then like, well, let's go out and eat. It's like Friday night,
Yeah.
and we drove by Cheesecake Factory, and she's like, you want to go to Cheesecake Factory? I'm like, actually, if there's just two of us, hell yeah. She's like, it shouldn't be any big deal. It's just two of us. And so we went in, and she's like, hey, it's Valentine's, so like every party's a party too. Like, okay, so we gotta wait a little bit, but it was awesome. It was great. And we went home, and it was nice, and felt like it's 10 o'clock. I'm just like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
And
Best night's sleep of your
um,
life.
it was great. But anyway, that was all stuck in my head. And here's my thing with the relationship hack, moving forward, moving along,
Hmm.
that the relationship hack is this idea, and it's some material I'm going to be putting out this year, that everything is in relationship. Like all things are in relationship. And then therefore understanding our problems, like our internal stuff with our situation with the world around us, and not just people, our past, our future, as relationship issues, like have great potential for healing and growth. And that's what we do at GPS Therapies. We try to promote healing and growth through relational mental health therapy. And so this relationship hack, this thing, and one of the items that I do want to bring up when it comes to this relationship hack is that, and this has to do with being stuck in your head, and that is that we need to pay attention to how sticky the relationship is. So, for example, there are certain things like if you and I were, and I'm going to speak out of turn here. It'd be great if someone can correct me, but like if I was an awesome Buddhist, or if I understood sort of my meditative self in ways that were like sort of transcendent, I wouldn't really be attached to much of anything ever. Like I would understand the flow of life and all that. But I mean, you actually do want to be attached to certain things and certain people and certain situations, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Me too. So understanding where it needs to be sticky and where it needs to be separate,
Yeah.
and how to do work to see it but not be in it, is massive. So
Hmm.
if I am stuck to the shame of my past, I have a relationship with that shame, and it's stuck in my head, and I really want to get out of my head because I don't like how it feels. It doesn't do me any good. And so seeing that relationship differently and learning how for it not to be sticky is a core thing.
Yeah.
So like, we want to be stuck to the important things, the most major things.
Hmm.
And so I'm curious, I didn't ask you this earlier, but like if we're talking about the relationship hack,
Hmm.
like in your head, and we're going to talk about inner critic here in a second. So maybe that'd be a decent segue. But what are things that tend to be stuck in your head that you wish weren't stuck in your head? What are things that are like too tight, too sticky that you need separation from? And what are things that like tend to reside there that like bring you a sense of tethering and comfort and connection? So like, what's the bad sticky stuff stuck in my head? What's the good sticky stuff stuck in my head?
I don't know. As a person who sometimes struggles with anxiety,
Yeah,
I can get real stuck on the why question. Like, why is this happening? Why? Why? Why do I feel this way? Why won't it go away? Why is this how I am? Why? Like,
yeah,
and it's particularly in a moment of heightened anxiety, it's not a very helpful question.
correct.
Actually,
Yeah,
can like prolong the thing I wish was not happening. And
yeah.
so,
Yeah. That's a great answer, Allison. I mean, it's super common, right? Tons of us do this.
well, and tricky because there are times where why is a great question. It's a very
Correct.
helpful question. And so
Yeah,
the same thing that can be really helpful in one kind of moment can tank and derail a whole nother moment. And so it gets a little tricky sometimes.
you want to. Yeah, why do you think we do that? That our brains produce that question, that why question, over and over again,
I think because
and not answer it. Why does that? Why do you think that happens?
I think yeah, well, I don't know that I can answer. Like
Actually,
I don't think I can answer it, but I think I'm trying to answer it because somewhere inside of me I believe if I can answer this question, then I can solve this problem and figure out how to never feel like this ever again.
we tend to ask why over and over again because there's an answer that we're afraid of,
Mm,
and that answer might not be correct or valid or true,
mm.
but we tend to believe it deep down.
Oh, for sure.
If you can identify the thing that you're super afraid of, that you're avoiding, that may or may not be true to the conscious level, then you can play with it and mess with it.
You mean
And
name
it,
it?
yeah,
Like what
yeah,
we were talking about earlier?
yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah, that's a helpful thing. But yeah, I think we all do that. Um, but I like that it keeps us stuck though.
Oh yeah. What about you? Are you sticky with something that you shouldn't be?
I think that I recently have realized how stuck I am on the people that are on my team or my children or those around me, like having to never be hurt by me or receive only benefit from me. Like the kinds of things that maybe I didn't receive from my dad that I have to in my life provide,
Mhm.
or I'm going to be like him. And I'm not, if anyone's listening that knows this, I'm not talking about Andy King, who was my adopted dad. This will be my biological father. And so I think I've lived a lot of my life, like whenever the people that I have some sort of responsibility for, it's not working for them, like it hurts me deep inside. And I hate how that feels. And so I try to avoid it or shame or fix it or whatever. Like there's a lot of gymnastics around that. I'm really stuck on that.
Mhm.
And being unstuck for me, even just recently, the story of the prodigal son,
Uh-huh.
um, if you've dove into it much or read Henry Nouwen's book, like the idea that the good son is the protagonist of the story, you know, he's like,
Oldest son.
yeah, like the prodigal is like on surface level, we're like, oh my gosh, like he went off and he went crazy and
Yeah,
did
like he's
crazy
a
stuff.
bad one. Yeah.
Asked forgiveness, came back, the father forgives him, and like, but that's not probably the main point. Like it's a point. Another big point is the good son's just like, dude, I've been doing this. I've been here. I've been doing the work. And you're gonna like throw a party for the son that went off and was, sleeping with whores and spending all your money and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And Jesus, like, and the answer of the Father is incredibly powerful. And you and I in our ministry work have talked about this many times, but he says something to the effect of, to the good son who was there all along, who's disaffected and angry, the father says, my son, I love you, and everything that I have is yours. Also, this son of mine, this brother of yours that was lost is now found, and we have to celebrate. And then that's like end of story.
Yeah.
And I was really identifying with the father because I'm like, I can't actually help everybody do the
Right.
thing. I can't
Yeah.
give them what they want.
Yeah.
And something about that at my advanced age, like broke loose the last couple of months. I'm just like, and I know I can tell people that all day long, but like when it's personal, it's different, you know? Like maybe that's just all I got. And can we all just be okay with that? And like, that's something that I was real stuck to, and I'm trying to get unstuck from. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be helpful, but I can't always do the things that I think need to happen, you know?
Yeah. You can't make other people want what you want for them.
No, no, no. Or sometimes even like follow through on the thing I said I'd do. Like, oh, I've already blown it. Like it's over,
Yeah.
you know? But at the end of the day, I'm like, this is like kind of all I got.
Yeah.
And so that's helpful. Anyway, so, you
Which
know,
I do think segues nicely into
the question of the week,
the question of the week. The
which is what, Allison?
What do you do when the inner critic gets loud?
Right. So here in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk to a friend of mine who has some thoughts on that. But so, Allison, this is
Yep.
something you've talked about a bit. What's the inner critic sound like? And
Mhm.
do you have a take on how you have worked through that? I don't know. You got a couple minutes on that?
Yeah, I mean, the inner critic is always my voice. I don't know if that matters. I think sometimes people's inner critic is other people's voices, their
Yeah.
parents or something. Mine is always my own voice. I don't know. I don't know what that says about me. Um, and just it kind of goes back to the why are you like this? Why can't you fix this? Why can't you figure this out? That kind of thing. But I think an important exercise that I try to do when I find myself stuck in that space is, and we do this a lot actually with my daughter too, who also has a lot of anxiety, is I try to truth tell.
Ah,
Like, what's the truth? Not what feels true or what like the critic is saying is true, but like what do I know to be true?
hmm
And and like lock there. And if what I
hmm
know to be true is contradicted by, well, it doesn't feel true right now, or then I know I don't need to camp there. It doesn't mean it's that easy, but I can say, well, you don't say that to me. That I already know that that's not true. I already know that
hmm
that's not true. It kind of gives a concrete like place to hold. And I realize like literally as I'm saying this, like it's so easy just to talk about and it feels so much harder to do
Yeah.
in a moment. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really helpful approach. And I think for me, if I notice it's happening, it's so hard to change your context, especially if you've just done it your whole life. You're just
Yeah.
doing it. You're just kind of doing it. You're dancing with
Yeah.
the critic. And I have to tether or connect myself to something better
Mm.
that is super real, like what you're talking about. But a lot of times it's physical. It can be metaphysical too, like a God conversation. But the God conversation tends to get mixed up in the critic
Yeah, yeah,
conversation if I'm not like if I don't change my setting, you
sure.
know. So for me, it's usually about outside um, music that helps me space, uh, physical activity. This is something that everybody deals with at some level, and but some of us like it is crippling,
And
and it
again,
will
kind of like the why
change
question,
our lives.
sometimes the critic is helpful. Like sometimes the critique is necessary.
At
Sometimes the critique
times,
is unhelpful.
I know, right? Just like people in our lives. Okay, so we haven't done this the
Wish
first
we
two
knew someone who
episodes.
was an expert on this.
Well, I mean, I thought of Brianna Wilson, LPC candidate who works with GPS Therapies, and I just think you're awesome, dude. And so I texted her today. I was like, "Hey, you want to be in like 10 minutes and like join our conversation about it?" And because of kind of when you'll hear in a second what she does, what her deal is, and you're like, oh, okay. So, Brianna, would you mind telling us a little bit about kind of like who you are and what you do, like what you do with us and what you do for Joy and what your history is and those things?
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Happy to be
Yeah.
here. Yes, definitely jumping into this head first, but happy to be here, happy to do this. I graduated from Northeastern State University in 2024. I was lucky enough to complete my internship at Chris Counseling, and just the experience and the team that, they presented was wonderful and supportive, and obviously drew me back whenever I was looking for my big girl job. So I joined them in August of this past year. Let's see, the work I'm currently doing right now, I have a lot of moms, a lot of postpartum, teenagers, also kind of like that high functioning teenager is my niche. I have a few like 10 and 12-year-olds, like the middle school area. That's been fun. I'm the director of people and culture at Chick-fil-A. I've worked there. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary. So I started when I was 14. March will be 10 years. So I've kind of worked up through the ranks. I've learned a lot of leadership, a lot of my own personal skills through the food industry. I've had a lot of wonderful opportunities through that. And then another big part of my life is ballet. I was 2 years old, maybe 2.5 when I started. I came to the studio because I had older siblings, older sisters that were already there. So it was just kind of like, all right, you come along too. And so I fell in love with it from a very young age. I was surrounded by some really wonderful people that helped kind of cultivate the love for ballet. And then as life goes on, the pressures build, and I was in a pre-professional environment for, oh gosh, probably from ages 7 or 8 until graduation at 17. Um, let's see. I still do ballet to this day. That's something that I've come back to. I had graduated in 2019 and I was like, I'm never coming back. Screw that. They they had me. Now I'm never doing it. And then I got
Yeah.
married, had a baby, and I realized that, man, I really need something for me again, because, you are a first-time mom, you're kind of living in that newborn life. It's constant, especially pregnancy, postpartum, anything like that. So about a year postpartum, I was like, I'm getting back into the studio. I wanted to feel like myself again and kind of, again, fill up my cup after I'm pouring into many others.
Yeah.
So yeah, came back to the studio. I have not been able to stop since then. I've been doing some little shows here and there. I'm working on one with Edmond, what is they called? Oklahoma Youth Ballet. So it's not a professional company, but it's a company that allows like youth and adults to come back and showcase their performance abilities and step into that, that role. So that's a little bit about my history with ballet.
Well, we've talked about inner critic because you're one of many people that come to we have these little roundtables about in our office about just how to be helpful to our clients and stuff, and we all share things and I mean, I think a lot of us from a distance kind of know the demands and like the genre that you're giving energy to is one that asks for perfection in so many ways.
Yeah.
And then the question is kind of like, well, then now that you're at the ripe old age of 24, like, is there anything that you've figured out that's helping with that? Because that practical piece is huge because when people are listening to this, like, I think this is a question that all of us should deal with. So how has that been hard for you? What's that been like?
Oh, where to begin? Okay, so
Yeah, I'm
growing
sure
up
there's a
in
lot, right? It's
there
tough.
is a
Yeah.
lot. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it. I feel like a little side note, I was fortunate enough to be able to complete a thesis project in my grad program, and the studies that have come from it are just mind-boggling. But this performance-based sport that ballet is, it's very individualized. You are using your body, you're using your person as the art. And that, through the lens of like growing up in a ballet studio, think of normal 12-year-old, development for women and girls, like you're constantly like 7 to 8 hours a day looking in the mirror and expected to judge yourself. So that
Mm-hmm.
piece in and of itself, like it just kind of kicks in some negative thinking and like, well, to be thin, to be better, to get off the floor. And then you have like the teacher coming in, and there's dynamics that I addressed in the paper about like the power differential that a teacher has and a coach has on a dancer or just anyone in that performance like individual sport setting. And they are kind of that expert in the field. They are this highly esteemed, like there's this level of respect within the ballet culture that goes into like you curtsy whenever the teacher comes in, you curtsy at the end. Even something simple like crossing my arms in front of my chest would be considered rude in the setting. You would have to like put your arms behind your back or just drop them down. So I feel like what you were saying, Alison, about like your inner critic being your own voice, I feel like for ballet dancers especially, that voice maybe gets muddled with a director or a teacher or whoever like their primary coach is.
Yeah.
At least in my personal experience, that's been pretty common. But then even years later, after that voice has, been put behind me, it still comes out. I
Yeah.
still hear, the same words or kind of those feelings, I guess, is the big part of like that emerges whenever the reels kind of start ticking. Especially like as an adult, there's times where I'm like, dang it, I wish that I could go back to when I was 16 with like kind of the knowledge that I had now. Very
Sure.
common sentiment for anybody, but just in that setting of like, I think, Chris, you and I were talking about this yesterday. Instead of letting the fear take over, changing it, putting that energy into excitement, fueling it, like, yes, give it to me,
Mm,
let's go. I
mm,
think another thing is like changing the wording of like, oh, I have to do something, where no, I get to do something. I get to use my body to create this art and step into another person and another reality for a little bit. Even if it's just class, even simple pliés and tendus, like you're a creature. It's different. It's expressive. It's like it's a different way of being for a time. So anyways, the thing that I've kind of an analogy that I've been working with and that's been helpful for me. Whenever I'm like working towards a goal, so I'm like steering the ship towards the island or the resort or whatever, insert
yeah.
place destination here. Um, I like to think of it like I have these monsters down below. So they're always kind of there. They're never like, they don't just come out from the sea. They're, not sea monsters, but they're with me. They're not me. There's that separation. But then,
Mhm.
whenever you start directing that ship and kind of have that goal, then the monsters start coming out from below and their voices start getting louder. They start getting a little bit more like in your face and like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You need to go back to safety. You don't want to go here. All the messages that kind of come up of risk and fear and going towards something and striving for, something maybe out of reach or a goal, anything like that. And so it's been helpful to kind of have that separation of like, hey, this isn't me, my thoughts necessarily. It's a part of me, but it's not my voice, and I can choose kind of what voice I listen to, what voice holds the power.
That's awesome. I have thoughts. Allison, though, I've been hogging the airways. You have thoughts
Well, no, I just,
or
you
questions?
said earlier, kind of in your bio setup that kind of the teenage girl, the high functioning teenage girl is sort of your niche. And I wonder, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like that's your chance to talk to you.
Yeah.
What are the concrete skills that you're handing to these girls, which I don't think are helpful only to high school girls. They're probably helpful to anybody, but I'm curious what like some of those like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Here's a thing we can do when we hear these voices rise up or we feel this thing kind of coming on.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the analogy. I live in kind of like an acceptance commitment therapy modality. I'm still, learning stuff, but that's kind of been a go-to and a way to understand like that inner critic and stuff. So like I'm trying to think of if I have any good stories, but I did have one client who was a swimmer. So that was a very like, you know, a way
That's
to
a translation. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So I just kind of focus on not giving power to the inner critic, and kind of accepting the fact that, you know, we don't have as much control over our thoughts. Like I feel like we think that we do, and whenever you have kind of a warped understanding, you maybe beat yourself up for having these thoughts of like, oh man, I don't want to be thinking
Right.
negatively. But it's like, well, if I tell you don't think of a pink ice cream cone over and over, like you're gonna think of a pink ice cream. Like you can't control
Right.
it. It's impossible.
Right.
Or very hard. I mean, without a lot of mental energy and effort. So again, just kind of accepting what control we do have, and then it's kind of like a pattern recognition, like noticing the pattern, noticing kind of when the voices start coming up, and then getting in that repetition of like either saying out loud to yourself, like stop, or saying the thought out loud to kind of normalize it, and like we're not like pushing it down, but we're accepting it, and
Yeah.
again, feeding the energy of like how much energy we want to give.
Okay, like that acceptance piece, that is so huge. Because when you talked about the monsters, I guess like if we were working together, I would say something like this. I would say, what's the monster's job? And what do monsters normally do? And how might it be helpful for us to relate to the monsters if it's their job to hang out in the sea every day there? It's like if I'm surfing and I know sharks are there, like, well, I need to avoid them. But if they're there, like, what do I do? Or if their job is to scare you, or maybe if their job is to like eat you, like, you know, like if that's literally what they're gonna do, like, then you have to develop some sort of relationship with them, which is more like, no, thank you, or like, I have lunch over there, you know, or like, I'm gonna stay out of your area, I'm going this way. Like it's kind of like what I talk about, what we're trying to talk about every week is like, if we develop a relationship with the thing, we don't even have to get it on our side. Like we just need to kind of understand like this is what it normally does.
Like for people who struggle with depression, or they struggle with anxiety, or they struggle, it's very much like it is, or ADHD or whatever. It's like that is a thing that you interact with a lot, and it maybe probably has been present a long, long time. And you are not ADHD, you are not anxiety, you are not depression. Like that helpful like separation and acceptance is hard because a lot of times it's sort of like forgiveness. Like we don't like accepting that something is we feel like we're saying it's okay that you're here.
That's not what
Well,
that
no,
means.
I'm not okay that you're here, but you are here.
Yes, you are. That's right.
So what are we going to do about it?
That's right.
It
Come
doesn't
on.
make you not here to wish all day long that you weren't here. Like you are here. So I don't necessarily like you very much, but you do.
Right.
You are here. So what are we
Right.
going to do about it?
But that's so much more accurate than saying, I don't really like you that much. Also, you're here. Like that's actually more truthful than like the fear that it generates about all the other things that are sticky that might happen. Do you have anything, like any advice that you want to give to people? Because I just want to say this. I don't think I've ever said this out loud to you, but like you actually have a great niche that you're going to actually fulfill. There's going to be people that have done experiences like you that need you to coach them through this. Like it just makes tons of sense.
Get a therapist. No, but for real. I would say like just with any healing journey, whether it's trauma, whether it's anything, I would say self-compassion is kind of my advice for that. It's not going to be a linear, you know, we're making progress step by step, day by day. Every day is a new chance to, you know, flex the muscles and retrain the muscles in your brain and then your natural like, you know, your natural responses and stuff.
Yeah.
So self-compassion and grace for like when things are still hard. And I think that goes with like any amount of healing, especially like I think of trauma, like there's going to be days where it feels heavier, where the voices feel louder, where the monsters are in your face. And just keep your goals and what you're working towards at the front of your, you know, your sights. Like I'm literally looking behind me. I have a picture. I did a little art project and it's like a vision board and it's all the things that I'm going to do this year. And like remembering why you started something because there was a reason. whether it was passion, love, helping others, like it doesn't matter. Remember why you started.
I love that. Also, don't go alone, man. There's people that want to help you. Even just if they can't help, they're going to walk beside you towards that true north. It's huge.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Yeah, we're glad you're here. Brianna, I'll see you at the office. Thanks for hopping on.
Y'all have a good one. Thank you again.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be thinking about the monster metaphor for quite a bit.
But like even the idea of like I'm steering the ship and these guys are doing their things, like, okay. And one thing I didn't say a lot of, but also like if we're going to go to battle those monsters, maybe not the best approach because then our brain will spin.
Yeah.
So you have to acknowledge them.
Yeah. Turn the light on, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah.
I know I could benefit like from paying attention to the way that we talk to ourselves.
Usually, you know, a lot of times people tell me how they talk to themselves, and I'm like, holy moly. But I'm not shocked by it because the brain will produce all kinds of stuff to keep you safe. So like developing a relationship with that inner critic is essential. It's big, because they're not going to go away, but they can lose their power, which is awesome.
Yeah. I heard a new thing today that I was like, I think that's going to be my thing.
Oh.
But I just, I want to give credit where it's due. I heard this from my video exercise instructor on jazzercise.
Let's go jazzercise.
Sometimes I jazzercise. Guys, come on.
Yeah.
Just whatever. But the instructor said, are you feeling challenged? And I was like, yes. She can't hear me, but I was talking to her. Yes, Jenny, I am. And she said, good, because without challenge, there isn't change. And I was like,
love that.
I was like, she's right. Jazzercise girl is right. And how much how much I work to not feel challenged. And like, why can't I just accept that without challenge, there's no change? So without challenge, there's no change. Just that's
love that. Awesome. Good stuff. Mine will be the same that I'm probably just going to keep saying it. Like we're no more important. We're no more important than anyone else. We're also as important as everyone else, like in the world. So you get a vote. Also, all these other people get votes. So like take care of each other the best that you can and take care of yourself. And you don't have to keep score. Just remember, they matter, you matter, I matter. So I think that's it, man.
Till next week.
Till next week, we're going to play music. It's good talk today.
Same. Thank you.
Yeah. Guys, we'll see you soon. Talk soon. Remember to reach out. info@gpstherapies.com. You can get a hold of me through our website, GPS Therapies, and Alison at Redeemer Covenant Church, which is like where all of her groupies and fans tend to hang out.
All of them.
In Tulsa.
All of them.
So, okay. See you later.